Oh, special guest today. I am really, really excited. Winner season 4, The Biggest Loser, Bill Germanakos. What's up, Bill? How you doing?
How you doing, Kory? I'm doing
Uh,
great over here. What's going on over there? This crazy COVID-19 stuff going on.
it's crazy, which we'll definitely talk about that. I mean, obviously we're stuck in your homes now. We go way back. We go back like a decade. So it's great to catch up with you. I'd love to talk a little bit about, first of all, it must be exciting that the show's back on. Probably brings up some good memories for you, right?
Oh, it really does. And I have the pretty rare, I guess. I'm lucky to be able to speak to all of the contestants. So I've been speaking to them all season, and then I get to see what they look like on television. And half the time I go, "Oh my God, I saw you on television. It's so cool." But so it's nice to be back.
That's good. I mean, take us back before your season. You're sitting at home. Tell us a little bit about what were you doing back then, and did you start watching the show right from the beginning?
I did. You know what? I was a big fan of the show, and you know what? I was one of the hopeless and helpless that had thought I'd done everything. And when I speak to people now, I tell them, listen, if you think you've done everything, wait till you see what I did. Yeah, I was as a regular guy. I was an athlete back in college. I was a lacrosse player on a scholarship. I was in great shape. I looked a little like Kory, like you, and the other Kory. Not quite though.
Yes.
But so a couple of blown knees, 5, 6 knee surgeries,
Wow.
maybe a little depression, which is what I come to find that most of us morbidly obese people have some sort of reason why they're up in front of the refrigerator staring in at 2 o'clock in the morning when they may not be hungry.
And how much did you weigh back then? Take people back to what? So that was your mindset back then. A little bit of depression. How much did you weigh?
Well, I'm 5'8" and maybe a little less now because I'm old. But
Hmm.
my highest weight was 382.
Wow.
I was really big. When I got to the show, I was 334, but I was already starting to try and change my habits. It became clear to me that I wasn't going to last too long, and I just turned 40, and it was time to start trying to think about, living. My father, I was shaped exactly like my father was, and he died at 56,
Wow.
and I knew that I didn't have much time, so it wasn't a good time for me. I mean, I was a happy guy. I was the happiest fat guy you've ever seen, so to speak, but I wasn't really good to myself, and I wasn't really happy with myself. And that's what a lot of obese people say, self-deprecating. They're always making jokes about themselves, and they're the fun guy to be around. But that's when all the lights go out and everyone else goes to sleep. That's when it really hits you that you're hungry, and you shouldn't be eating, but you do, and you don't know why. And a lot of this was addressed on The Biggest Loser, which I was really thankful for.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't realize is that you had a twin brother that also was on the show.
Yeah, he's a good-looking guy too. Actually, what happened was he was a huge fan of the show, and I watched the show. I was extremely busy. I mean, I was 100-hour-a-week guy, working a full-time job and a full-time business, basically. So basically life was in the way of me trying to be healthy. But my brother Jim, he was a huge fan of the show. I couldn't have picked out Jillian in a group of people, but he was a major Jillian Michaels lover, and he actually tried out for season 3.
Really?
Yeah, and he waited online in 20 degrees up here in New York City, and didn't get on the show. And someone that he met on the line got on the show, and that was Eric Chopin, who ended
Sure.
up winning season 3,
Yep.
which was amazing. And he had a wonderful story to himself, and he still has a story. Unfortunately, it's not all happy, and that's why so many of us really struggle to try and find what I'm trying to find, what you're trying to offer, which is why I'm happy we're talking.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. And so then back then, season 3, did you feel guilty that your brother was trying to try out, and you must have been obviously aware of that, and you were sitting at home, I'm assuming,
I
while he was
was, I was
freezing in line?
I was at the office, and you know what he told me? He goes, "Hey, Bill, The Biggest Loser show." I go, "Yeah, great show. Yeah, yeah." And he's like, "I'm trying to get on it." I'm like, "Cool, good for you." So I go, "Let me know how that works out." Now you have to know my twin brother. He's a guy that has so many dreams. He's really he really aspires for greatness. And when he says something like that, normally I'd be like, "Hey, good for you, great." What a lot of people don't know about him is when he decides he's going to do something, boy, oh boy, Does
Yep.
he see it through? 15 or maybe 15 years earlier, back when Rosie O'Donnell was on TV and she had her own show, Jim said, "Hey, I'm going to get on the Rosie O'Donnell show and I'm going to sing a song." And we were like, "Yeah, good for you." And he's a guy that actually is a professional entertainer. He sings Sinatra.
Wow.
He's a retired police officer, but he's out there singing in the Italian restaurants and he does some acting. So he actually recorded a Sinatra tune to lyrics for a big person and sent it into Rosie. He sent it into all 15 producers that he saw on the as he slowed down the the thing. And 4 days later, he's singing a song in his police uniform on the Rosie
Wow.
O'Donnell show. So
That's incredible.
if he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. But he didn't get on season 3. And then when season 4 rolled around, he says, "Hey, I'm going back to try out for The Biggest Loser again." And I was like, "Yeah, good for you. Give it a good shot." So in the course of him applying, they really liked him. He's got a real New York City cop's attitude, which is great for the show. I mean, you have to have something for that show. And if there's anyone watching this that aspires to get on The Biggest Loser, I worked with the casting department for 4 or 5 years after my show. You really have to have a story.
Yeah.
Other than I've tried everything, because nobody has tried everything until after The Biggest Loser is over. Then you've tried everything. But in the course of him applying, they said, "Jim, we really like you. We think you're great for the show. You got a good story, good attitude. You're huge. You got a lot of weight to lose. Your before pictures were great," because he played football and lacrosse in college.
Wow.
So we were both athletes. And he said, "Really, I have a shot?" And he said, "Yeah, you got a great shot." And that's when he said, "Really wish my twin brother was here."
Wow.
And they were like, "You have a twin brother?"
That's
And
overweight.
yeah. And well, they asked him, he's like, "Is he?" He goes, "Huge." "Yeah, he's huge, just like me."
Wow.
And he said, "Well, he looks just like you." "Yeah." "Is he a cop too?" I said, "No, he's actually a professional, wears a suit and tie, financial guy." And they said, "Wow, we're really looking to cast a set of twins this season for season 4 as the gimmick. And we have one other set of twins, but we don't really want them. But man, that would be great. You think you can get him on?" And my brother goes, "Listen, I could get him." So I know nothing about this. I didn't apply for the show. I still don't have an application. He's driving home in traffic on the Long Island Expressway. And he calls me and he says, "Hey, Bill, I'm trying to get on The Biggest Loser show." And I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I'm pretty sure I'm getting on." And I'm like, "What? That's sick. Good for you." And he goes, "That's not even the best news." I'm like, "There's more."
Wow.
And he says, "I think I got you on too." I'm like, "What?" I'm telling you, 2, 3 weeks later, I'm getting on a plane, no application, nothing.
Wow.
And I went, and the rest is history. The two of us, we pretty much dominated this season. The only reason why he didn't win is because he was by far the biggest threat. He went in at 368 pounds with a 185-pound shredded body just waiting to come out. And they eliminated him because that's the way the show goes. And, he was betrayed. And everything on the show is completely real as it pertains to all that drama and everything. I mean, most reality shows, you have to question about
Yeah.
their reality.
Yeah.
And Biggest Loser, it's real. And the reality is what the number is on the scale. And we go from there. So yeah, it was quite an experience.
Wow. So yeah, that's phenomenal. I mean, back then as well, that was when the show was, I mean, it was one of the top, it was always one of the top rated shows, but season 3, season 4, I remember it was really at its peak. Myself being in the fitness industry, I would follow it all the time, obviously. And I know you had told me a really cool story just to give people, your mindset. I mean, it's interesting. Your mindset fits you more now because, not only have you won the show, but you're not 380 pounds anymore, right? But you told me a story of how dedicated and how really what your vision was like to really win. And I know, there would be some fun betting going on, like who would win this challenge? Who would win this challenge? You mind telling that story of just like, who would bet on you to win a challenge versus everyone else?
Well, it's a pretty funny story because when people watch the show and they know about all of the what is it called when you've got the people that you hang out with, I'm trying to think of the words, the people that you're hooked in with,
Like your tribe, your
exactly.
Yeah.
People listening, they know the word.
Yeah.
So when we were on the show, we were on the black team, and our team, we 6 people were eliminated on the very first challenge. I had to run a mile in the Mojave Desert in 115 degrees at 334 pounds.
That is incredible. First of all, when do you get the news that that's what you're doing for the day?
Well, we were told we were the cast at about midnight. They said by 2 in the morning, you have to have all of your affairs in order, make your phone calls, whatever. We're collecting all of your phones, your computers, everything. You won't get them back until after you get eliminated. So I didn't have a phone. I didn't see a newspaper for
Wow.
almost 5 months. No TV, nothing. The ranch, that we were on, had nothing. And I wasn't on a big, expansive ranch where you could look out on all the niceties. Our ranch was basically at a university in a little sector of it. It was nothing. It was just it was brutal. It was horrible. But so when we came back, Jillian comes in the desert. She comes flying in on her motorcycle. She saves the black team. We're like, who the heck is that on the motorcycle? She takes off her helmet. She does this with her hair. I'm like, who the heck is that? And Jim goes, it's Jillian. We're staying. So she saves us. And so for the first 2 weeks or so, we trained in the desert and on the beaches of Malibu, California. And then they brought us in to the ranch, to the campus. And by then, the blue and the red teams were all very well entwined and very friendly, whatever. So everyone had the people they were matched up with. Me, I had my twin brother, which gave us an edge because we were twins. We weren't going to forsake one another. But everyone had their alliance. That's the word. Everyone had their alliances. So ultimately, we were doing really well. And Jim got eliminated. He had lost, I think, the second most amount of weight in the first 5 or 6 weeks. I know I lost like 65 pounds in the first 6 weeks. It was unbelievable. I ended up losing like a pound a day for 120 days. It was crazy.
Oh, incredible.
But, for the people that are watching this that want to know how the hell is that possible, the answer is quit your job, throw your kids somewhere else, forget newspapers, and get to the gym 5 to 6 times a day, each time for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and eat a very refined calorie system of nothing but protein. That's how you lose a pound a day.
That sounds like vacation to me. I would love to be doing that right now.
To you, because you're a fiend in the gym, because you're Kory and you're Kory fit and you're the man. That's why. I remember when I first started working with you 10 years ago and you were kicking my ass in the gym and everything. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? I thought this ended when I left that crazy girl. And you're like, nothing ends. This is where it just begins. I'm like, I don't even like this guy.
Listen, there's truth to that because as you will attest, I mean, the biggest problem with the show, if there was one, was just that's hardly reality when you come home. So, your challenge really began when you got home, right?
It did. And it happens like that for everybody. The thing that happened, like with my twin brother, he came home and lost an additional maybe 130 pounds while he was working full time in the police car. And when you're in the police car, You're not jogging, you're not moving, you get out for calls, but you really have to prioritize your health. You really have to, and you really have to work on your schedule. And you know what, again, it's a priority. I mean, Kory, I just stubbed my toe. Ready for this? Remember this? You told me if you have a desk and you don't have weights underneath it,
I love it.
You're not doing the right thing. So I've had weights under my desk since you told me that 10 years ago.
I love that.
But the way it worked was after I lost my brother on the campus, I had no alliance, and everyone knew that I was losing a ton of weight. I was pretty much the #1 weight loser. So I was excelling in all of the challenges, and I was winning huge prizes. I did great. I won a new Ford Expedition. I won a home gym. I won $5,000 in a temptation challenge. Everyone hated me, but I was getting very fit and I was working out really hard. But a lot of people said, well, why were you losing so much more weight? Listen, I have the record. I threw up in the gym 21 straight days when I got to the campus. Okay. I'm the guy that was willing to do whatever Kory and Jillian said until I threw up. That's what it took. But after I started winning everything and getting a little more fit, I really didn't have any friends on the campus because the alliances wouldn't get near me.
Everyone's betting on you.
Well, yeah, and everyone's betting on me to win these things. So I would start talking with the producers and the sound guys. I'm like, hey, what's the action? And they're like, all the action's on you, bro. And because you're going to win it again. I'm like, come on, I have a couple of dollars. I mean, no one wants any action. I had to start giving 2 to 1, 3 to 1 for people to bet against me. And I would actually win the challenge. And then I'd go and start collecting cash from all the producers I was friendly with. So there was some fun behind the scenes.
What was it like going through the process of having depression beforehand, which obviously is too common of a problem nowadays and especially in the past. But when did you feel like you were sort of not past it because I'm not sure if that ever goes away to some degree, but I mean, obviously you're starting to excel. You're starting to see weight come off. Was there like an aha moment where you're like, this is like the new me now, and now I'm 100% dedicated, everything I
Well,
do moving forward?
Corey, to be perfectly honest with you, the aha moment was the very first week we were on the ranch. And what people don't see on TV, they're like, man, who cooked for you? We cooked for us. The one thing they told us is we'll order what you want. We had to be guided by our trainer, tell it how many calories, and gave us a formula based on your weight. This is the amount of calories you should be eating if you want to maintain your weight. This is the amount of calories by percentage you should be eating if you want to lose weight. The kind of stuff you told me about too.
Yeah.
And then we'd meet with a nutritionist to talk about how to set up your macros, percentages, protein, fat. And then we'd meet with a person that was there. I mean, I became friendly with Curtis Stone. He came in and taught us how to cook, right? But we did all the cooking. And the most important thing, and I worked in the wellness business for 10, 11 years after I came home from the show. What people have available to them that they do not take advantage of is EAP services, a psychologist.
Yeah.
We had a psychologist on the show that met with us that said, guys, there's a certain way morbidly obese people continue to get more and more obese. They medicate with food. Tell me if this is any one of you that to make yourself feel better, you'll eat more, even if you're not hungry. That to make yourself feel loved or liked, or if you're having a bad day, you go straight to food. I mean, guys like you, Kory, you go straight to the gym. That's how you feel better. That's how you medicate.
Yeah.
I became that person for a little while. Then the depression because of the stress, it's all because of stress. So when the stress came back in, then I started going in the other direction, which is why I still need help. And the biggest thing is people have to ask for help. We had a meeting once a week at minimum with the psychologist on the show. And people are like, we never saw that on TV. That's not sexy.
Yeah.
That's not cool for TV. And when people say, well, if I went to The Biggest Loser, I could lose that kind of weight too, because you have access to all these professionals. And the answer is, we all have access
Absolutely.
to the same professionals.
Yeah, you still got to get the job done.
You do, and most people that work for a large company, they've got wellness programs that give you free access to nutritionists, free access to training. You could do Zoom training, you could do on-site training, spin classes, whatever. And you can consult with a psychologist, and a lot of them have psychologists that specialize in obese people, which is what I needed, again, after the fact, because a lot of us go away from what makes us successful.
Yeah.
And this is why so many people gain the weight back when they leave the show, because they're leaving their support structure.
Yeah, it's so true. I've seen it too many times. I'd love to talk a little bit about, and this is the trainer hat on me. My whole life I've loved high intensity interval training. The name might scare people away, but what people don't realize is it doesn't mean you're in the gym powerlifting, right? Even though it's high intensity interval training. Obviously, I oversee in my day job multiple franchises for F45, and it's really based around high intensity interval training. But it's interesting when you look back, what type of training were you doing? Because most people think that you have to be in really good shape to do HIIT training. You guys were doing a level of that back all the 10 years ago, and you were 380 pounds.
Kory, I tell you what, I think that the secret I don't have to tell you this, that the secret to losing weight is to get your heart beating faster, to sweat. A lot of people say, well, geez, I walked, I said, well, I saw you walking. You were walking with your friends. I didn't see one person sweating. You didn't stop talking.
Yeah.
If you're doing the right kind of exercising, you should be panting and you should be sweating. You shouldn't be able to walk for 20 minutes talking with your bro or singing along with your iPod. The answer is, we started doing high interval, HIIT training, high intensity interval training, the very first day we were there. Now, when I'm 334 pounds, it is, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to walk uphill on the treadmill, 15 seconds, and then take a 45-second rest.
Yep.
I go, how do I take a rest? So you just step off. And then we started, after I lost a little bit of weight, we started jogging, right? And then it's, jog 30 seconds on, a minute off. Then you jog 45 seconds on, 45 seconds off. It just kept getting better. And by the time I was done, I was doing Olympic triathlons, you know, so it's a matter of starting small. Everyone has to start somewhere. And I mean, heck, I'm just getting started now with F45. I expect to be the guy that everyone comes over and go, oh, it's okay. Don't cry. It'll be all right. I'm going to be that guy because I'm ready to get my ass kicked like that again, but that's what it takes.
Yeah, I have no doubt I would be betting on you in any upcoming challenge, and we'll
Don't
talk.
bet against me. If you're
I
listening,
will
don't bet
not.
against me.
We'll
No.
talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I think it's just interesting how people, you know, like when people hear you, it's interesting when most people or your average person, you know, is like, yeah, you know, I'm not in shape, I can't do cardio, and their perception of cardio or strength training is like I have to be in the gym for an hour. It's not about that at all. It's about, like in your case, it's literally 5 minutes. And you know, I remember those days. It's 5 minutes doing something, and then you slowly ramp up, and you regress on a particular exercise if you have bad knees, and there are things you can do for that, and then you progress when you feel like you're at that stage. So I think it's important for people to hear that. And how did your brother handle the exercises and everything that you went through while was he on the same team?
We were both on the black team. Yep.
Yeah.
And in fact, we had a great season. Anyone remembers the season? All 4 finalists were from Jillian's black team. So
Yeah.
my brother got eliminated in the 5th episode, which might have been the 6th or the 7th week. Wink, wink. A lot of people say, how do you lose 10 pounds in 1 week? I go, listen, it's an episode. It's reality TV. No one ever said it was 7 days. So it's an episode.
Takes 6 weeks for the 1 episode.
Right. So, well, actually, I think the longest episode we had was a little over 2 weeks, and people were like, you lost 15 pounds.
Yeah.
It's a pound a day. That's what I was losing, was a pound a day. So if I lost 5 pounds that week, it means it was a short week for that episode. It's all based on when Jillian and Bob could be there for the weigh-in, and when Ali Sweeney, who was the hostess, when she could be there. But bottom line is, when Jim got eliminated, the first thing he did when he came home was found a trainer, and the trainer that he ended up with was a shredded bodybuilding type trainer that said, listen, I guarantee you that you're going to hate my guts, and I'm going to have you sweating a lot. And it was all interval training there too. And but you know what, in our scenario, it's not all just the 5 minutes or just the 45, right? Just because you're part of F45 or you're doing a 45-minute training session, it doesn't mean you could lose your mind for the other 23 hours of the day.
Yeah, that's the easy part, is the 45 minutes.
It truly is, because, you know, I am a great person at being led and told what to do. Okay. And so do this and do this till you puke. That's the way I was doing. And when I stopped puking, I was doing it even more than I thought I could do. But you know, it involved when the majority of the Biggest Losers on the ranch are working out 6 to 8 hours a day. Now, a workout doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting killed by your trainer. Yeah. Right. For us, 2 hours could be go out and do a 6-mile hike before 9 a.m. when I show up on the ranch and start really killing you. All right. And then all of our training was exactly what your model that you've really convinced me is the right model here with F45. It's individual training in a group environment. Okay. So everyone's doing the same exercises in different stations. The trainer's going around making sure you got the right intensity, making sure you're doing it correctly. Because in this case, you know, the form is so important. You could be doing push-ups, but if they're not perfect push-ups, then they're not good push-ups, right? Yeah. So same kind of environment. And what she would do is then she would train all of us for, you know, 3 to 4 hours in between, let's say 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. But in that time, she would take each one of us and just crush us for an hour. And that was when we would really be doing the hard work, the interval training, and moving very quickly from exercise to exercise, keeping the heart rate up, keeping the intensity up, because, you know, at the end of the workout, if your heart rate is still high for an extra 20 to 30 minutes because of all the hard work you did, you're still losing weight.
Still losing weight.
Still burning calories.
What was so you win the show. I'd love to know what the first thing you ate was. How many times have you probably been asked that question? But I think it's important to know. When I did a bodybuilding show, I'll never forget, my first food was 3 slices of buffalo chicken from La Piazza on Long Island. And I was in heaven. So
you were going to hate my answer.
Yeah, Tell me you had grilled chicken and like Brussels sprouts.
I
What?
got to tell you, what they told us is, and Jillian even said this, is listen, a lot of people are going to start drinking beer, being celebratory, drinking beer, eating pizza and salt. There's something which is called refeeding syndrome or something. When you overeat in salt and your body just consumes it and makes you so bloated, a couple of people had to go, they couldn't fit into their clothes in a day. Now, fortunately for me, because I won, they said, okay, listen, we're throwing you right on the plane. You're going to be on the Today Show tomorrow morning, first thing. And I'm like, really? That's great. But I'm
That's when the fun
starving. You got
begins.
to feed
Yeah.
me something.
Yeah.
And so what did they give me? They gave me a salad with grilled chicken.
That I could see, right? Today Show's the next day. Like I'm eating grilled chicken and salad.
That's exactly. So I get off the Today Show. I'm eating normal. And it's important to realize that I am one of the Biggest Loser champs that really was able to have a 15-minute of fame scenario. And mine lasted close to 5 years. My injuries really took over. Right now I'm training so that I can go get a couple of knee replacements. But I stayed really, really good on my diet. And that's after The Biggest Loser. Once I started working full time, I was traveling a lot. And people say, well, if you travel a lot, you eat horribly. I'm like, what does that mean? Like when you travel for work, you could order whatever you want. Just because it's all available to you doesn't mean you should be ordering it.
Yeah.
I tell people about the breakfast buffets at all the hotels. They're like, I know, but the Belgian waffles and all that great stuff. I'm like, why would you eat would you eat one at home?
I know. It's so true.
Order an egg white omelet. It costs you $15, but you're not paying. It's a work trip.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think because I want to talk about how now you're sort of going to reinvent yourself now that we're all at home and we're living in a virtual workout world. But there's one more story you got to tell. Hilarious. And for people that really know the bodybuilding and fitness world, Ronnie Coleman, one of the 7-8-time Mr. Olympia champions. And there is it's probably my favorite story you've ever told me. But if you could enlighten the audience on just the difference in like just fame from when you win a show like that and the notoriety you get, and how you perceive yourself as not being really that recognizable back then. What was that story with Ronnie Coleman? And then we'll sort of fast forward to what your plans are moving forward.
I'll tell you. And Kory, I don't even know how and why this came up, because you did not mention you were going to ask me about this, but
that's hilarious. Oh man, that's the man. It's one of my idols.
Right?
And I had a bad feeling when you started to tell me the story, although it ended well. But
it started off bad because I was invited to be a panelist at the Los Angeles fitness expo, and boy oh boy was this place packed with fitness professionals. Gunther Schlierkamp, Mr. Olympia,
wow.
Kim Lyons, and a couple of really cool, really cool people that intimately.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are not in the fitness world might not know some of those names, but I got a chance to sit on this panel. And a few of them were up there, including Gunther and his wife, Kim Lyons, a professional fitness competitor and bodybuilder, and Ronnie Coleman. I was sitting right next to him. So he was huge, gigantic. And ultimately, I found out that I asked him ultimately, how much do you weigh? He goes, right now about 380. And I'm like, how much you compete at? And he goes, about 295. I'm like, you compete at 295 with 3% body fat? He was huge. But the funny thing was, we weren't friends when I first got on that panel, because I sat on the panel and I'm wearing my Biggest Loser shirt, or I had a weight loss twins shirt or something. And he sits and he goes, who'd you say you were? I said, I'm the guy that just won the Biggest Loser show on TV. And then he goes, and you're sitting up here with me? With us?
Shattered my dreams initially when you told me that.
Right. And I said, Mr. Coleman, I'm a huge fan. He goes, it's cool. It'll be fine. And then, so Kim Lyons is like, really, Ronnie, he's a great guy. And he's an inspiration for people. Love the show. It'll be fine. And the guy's like, so he gave me major attitude. And then everyone gets a chance to give a little spiel. I was at that point, I had started publicly speaking and motivational speaking. And I had a little bit of a spiel of some funny stories and whatever else. And it became apparent to me that he was getting more and more annoyed as this was going on. Then they opened up to questions. There must have been 5,000 people there. It was a huge expo. And I would say of the first 50 questions, 49 of them were for me.
Incredible.
Now I could just feel the heat coming from the side of me, because he was fuming, right? And then after I started answering some questions and I started saying that these people are my inspiration and my favorite bodybuilder of all time, I can't believe I'm sitting right next to him. He was gigantic. And he started loosening up a little. And then this went on for quite a while. And ultimately I said, I really wish that I could get your autograph when this is over. And he's like, yeah, I think I could do that. And then everyone started lining up because I have a glossy that I signed. Like,
Yeah.
I had one, I remember one I gave you a Got Milk ad that I had, right? And I had
That's
another
right.
glossy. And literally people are lined up to get me to sign a glossy and put a little inspirational statement. And I said, before this goes any further, before you leave, could I please have your autograph? And could I have one for my brother and my daughter, whatever else? And then he's like, yeah, I could do that. And he goes something like, yeah, before you guys, I'm going to have to get one from you. And he never asked me. I think he was just saying that to be nice. And then when everything started breaking up, he started talking to me. So what did you do to lose all that weight, whatever? He became the nicest guy. It took about 4 hours.
I'm
He
glad you
became
said
a
that.
sweet.
Otherwise, I would have been really upset if that didn't happen.
He became the nicest guy. Everyone on that entire panel was so nice. And I think the nicest guy that I've ever met is Gunther Schlierkamp.
Yeah.
And you look at him, you're like, oh my God, I'm just glad that he was on my side. But it was just, you know what? It's a community.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
you have to do to get into a bodybuilding show, right?
Yeah.
So I think Ronnie just had to hear what I went through in order to earn my spot on that panel.
Exactly. Well,
and then
plus
he had respect for me.
I'll tell you, Bill, one of the reasons why I get excited when I talk to you is the reason why that happened is you're more relatable. There's only, 15 Mr. Olympias going back the last 2 decades. Most people are overweight, frankly, or out of shape. Most people are not Mr. Olympia, nor will they never be. So I think people relate to you more, which
I
now,
understand that.
I mean, we're living in the virtual world today, but I think the great news is F45 as a challenge coming up. It's 45 days. That's like nothing to you. That's like one episode. So I know it's really cool because globally, a lot of people are going to be partaking in the challenge, and that's sort of how you're going to now start to reinvent yourself, use the challenge, the workouts every day, the nutrition stuff, right? That's how you're going to start to kind of get back in shape.
You know what's great for me, Kory, and when we started talking, when you started getting involved in F45, and there wasn't really one too close to me, and I work really hard, a lot of hours, and the closest one is a little bit of a trip. And then as I was doing the research and continuing to talk to you and found out that there were some ones opening up close to me, I just couldn't, chomping at the bit to get started. Then when I found out that this is worldwide, I travel an awful lot. So I mean, if I'm going to head to LA, if I'm going to head to Chicago, Oklahoma City, wherever I go, what's great is it's a community and a support structure that I could say, hey, I'm part of this, and I could go get my workouts in and everything. So I follow everyone now. I mean, I tried to do that at-home workout. A lot of the stuff that Kory was doing, not you, Kory, the other Kory, and not the good-looking Kory, but the guy on the
Kory
on
is the face of F45. Kory with a C. I'm Kory with a K.
He's the man. Kory with a C. I wish I had a little bit more Kory's.
He's a big boy, in a good way.
But some of the stuff he was doing, like the side-to-side jumps, I can't do some of that stuff because my knees are shot. Especially one is so wrecked. But just trying to get in there and to do everything. And I think the biggest point is if you can't do it, this guy is a professional and premier fitness person. If you can't do it, do what you can and gauge your success on how you do next time. And that's what I think the best part about this at-home thing is. And I'm really all for getting going with this.
Yeah, no, Bill. First of all, outstanding, just inspirational story. Obviously, I know it, but I think it's important, especially, which is what great timing the show's back out, right? Like that's phenomenal, just in and of itself. So, I want to thank you. We're certainly going to be, I myself is going to be chronicling your journey, which is really, really cool. There'll be some cool things I know the marketing team is going to do with you. And I think you're an inspiration to a lot of other people. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you my favorite 2 questions: favorite book, favorite movie.
Favorite book, The Godfather, and favorite movie has to be Shawshank Redemption.
All right. Pretty uplifting.
But hey, listen, Kory, I just want to say, as I go through this along with you and yours, I'll be on Instagram. I'm new to Instagram. I must have a couple of hundred followers. Biggest Loser 4, Bill G. If someone wants to find me, I'll be chronicling it.
And one word, Biggest Loser, the number 4, right?
It's Biggest Loser 4, Bill G. But
Okay.
just, I guess you put in my name, Bill Germanakos, or find me. I'm the only Biggest Loser, Bill. And then I'm on Twitter. I don't do much tweeting, but I'm on Twitter. But I do a lot on Facebook. And I'm a family guy, so you might not always see fitness stuff because I've got 3 beautiful kids and a wife and a family life. So hey, we get a chance to know one another too. So I look forward to hooking in with you and getting a chance to not only try to inspire others, because with the journey, and I understand that because The Biggest Loser truly inspires me, but the journeys of everyone else have inspired me. And I find people that have been speaking to me for years that still
Wow.
call me and say, hey, ever since we saw you speak, or ever since you had that conversation, I've been able to accomplish X, Y, or Z. And it's been truly inspirational for me too.
Bill, thanks so much. Looking forward to talking more, and stay healthy, stay safe.
I'll speak to you soon, Kory. Thanks so much. And I appreciate the opportunity to get on with you.
Thank you, buddy.
Take care.